Hi, this is Bill Feder of Unfettered Marketing, and today we're going to be talking about how to create an NPS survey using just Pardot and Salesforce. So why don't we start with, what is Net Promoter Score in the first place? What is NPS? Well, NPS is essentially a two-question survey. Maybe you've seen it before. The first question being, would you recommend us to a friend or a colleague? And then there's a 0 to 10 point scale. And the second question being, why would you recommend us? Now, the reason that this kind of survey works is it's very low effort on the part of the person taking the survey. It's only two questions, it's relatively simple, and it gives people an opportunity to speak their mind. So what is the Net Promoter Score? Well, first of all, we have this dimension, this numeric dimension from 0 to 10. And again, the question being, would you recommend us to a friend or a colleague? And the second question, why do you answer that way? Now, the reason that this is phrased in this way is, it doesn't matter whether you gave us a 2 or you gave us a 9. It's the same question. You don't have to qualify why did you like us or why didn't you like us. It just gives people an open forum to be able to answer the question in any way that they want. And the reason I like this kind of a survey is a lot of times when we're thinking up survey questions, we're biased by what we think we want to know. And then we don't give people the opportunity to really tell us what they want us to know or what their experience really was like. So the reason this kind of survey is awesome is this is an open forum. This is an empty box. It lets them fill in anything they want us to know about their experience, good or bad. And I really, really like the opportunity to just give people the chance to speak their mind. And like I said, it's a super simple survey. It's only two questions. And I'm going to show you how to get that first question answered with the very first click. So how do you calculate your NPS score? Hint here, it's not an average. That's gotten some people confused. So the way it works is you take the total number of promoters, you subtract the total number of detractors, and divide that by the total number of promoter and detractor responses. Multiply that by 100. Now notice here the passives are completely ignored and the actual score value doesn't matter at all. And that's the basis for which we're going to go through this exercise for showing you how to do this. Now, what's a good score? A lot of people ask that question. Well, the range is -100 to +100. So anything obviously in the negative column means that you have more detractors than you have promoters. So that's clearly not good. So anything over 0 means you have more promoters than you have detractors, which is a good thing. So there's then relative degrees of that, ranging from 0 up to 100. So you might put them in sort of these thirds buckets for good, great, and excellent. I mean, obviously, if it's basically 100, is you have no detractors at all, and everybody else of your promoters loves you. So that's obviously the best score you could possibly have. So, as I said before, do you need a survey tool to do NPS? No, you don't actually need a survey tool. I'm going to show you how to do it just with Pardot and just with Salesforce and with minimal administrative effort at that. So the other thing about it is you already know who to ask. They're already in your database because these are your customers. So how do you go about deciding who to ask? I suggest you come up with ways to build dynamic lists or other lists of people who are already your customers to be able to put that survey tool out there and to ask them this NPS question. You probably have everything you already need in Pardot and Salesforce to define who are good candidates to ask this question. So let's go over what the supplies are that you need in order to do this. The first thing is you're going to need to create 2 custom Pardot fields. You're going to need 5 custom Salesforce fields on contacts. You're going to need 11 custom redirects in Pardot, 1 landing page with a form, we'll talk about that, 1 email template at least, 1 Salesforce report, and an optional Salesforce campaign. Now, I like to use the Salesforce campaign because it gives us a way in order to monitor who's in Salesforce that has done this question. It gives me a way to show the individuals without going through the reporting. So I like using the campaign. It gives me a little bit of extra information on top of what I can get out of the reporting. So those are the basic supplies you're going to need in order to make this work. So the basic process is we have some form of an invitation email. The key is the invitation is an email, because we want to tie the first question to the person we asked. So that every individual question or every individual pip on this scale ties to a Pardot custom redirect. That's why we have 11 redirects. We have 0 to 10, and we have a Pardot custom redirect to set the NPS score value. So the very first click gets you that first value. And then this goes to a landing page, which is the second question. And really, that's the process. That's it. It's just the invitation email and this one question on the landing page. So let's start with what are the custom fields that we need. So the first thing we need is a Pardot field called NPS score and a matching Salesforce field called NPS score, which is a number field with 2 digits. And you connect these together, and the sync behavior is always use Pardot's value. Now the reason for that is we don't want it changing in Salesforce for any reason. And if we want to ask the question again, we want Pardot to be able to overwrite that original value and not worry about Salesforce's old value winning. The second question is the comments, which is just a text area field in Pardot, also matched to a text area field in Salesforce. You can make that field any length you want. I'm putting in an arbitrary 2,000 characters in mine, but it's up to you. Again, the sync behavior is use Pardot's value. In the event that you want to ask this question again once it's filled out, we want Pardot to be able to overwrite what the original score was. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, don't I want to save the NPS scores that are old? Well, there's several schools of thought on them, but one is the NPS kind of represents your state of mind at the time. So you might have a great experience right now, and you might have a poor experience later. You kind of want to know where people's heads are at the time. So you might think of it as anytime I can get somebody to answer that NPS score represents how they feel about me right now, and I think I want to action on that based on their feelings at the time. So this is up to you, but I suggest just letting you overwrite it if you're going to ask this question to people every 6 months or every 12 months. You, of course, can save off that information and use it later. You could also allow the field to accumulate data. It's up to you. Then we've got three more fields on Salesforce. We'll come back to those later. Now note, the NPS score and comments don't have to be on the contact page layout, but you can put them there if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But we're essentially going to use them in reporting. So they don't necessarily need to be in the contact page layout, but as I said, it's your choice. Now, note, this is on the contact. You could put it on the lead if you wanted to, but why would you? Because you shouldn't be asking leads this question anyway. So essentially, you really only want to be asking this question of people who are contacts. So we can see here on our Pardot custom fields, I have 2 custom fields in Pardot only. I have the NPS score, which is a number, and the NPS comments, which is text. And it is synced to the Salesforce.com fields of the same name. And if I look over into my Salesforce fields here, I also see I have the NPS comments with a long text area of 2,000, and I have my NPS score, which is a number of 2 digits with no decimal places. So those are essentially the 2 simple fields that you need in order to synchronize to make this work. Now let's look quickly at our campaign. This is, again, I said it was an option, but I kind of like using them because, again, it gives me another opportunity to see what's going on. It also allows me to see if anybody kind of answered the first question without answering the second one. So I've actually created some custom member statuses in here, and I always recommend using custom member statuses for your campaigns. It really does help to determine what's going on. But in the Lightning interface, you do have to make sure that this is added to the page layout so you can actually create a custom member status. So I have essentially 3 different ones here. I have feedback requested, which is kind of I asked them to give me feedback and put them in the campaign to start with. Then I have gave rating if they clicked on one of the answers. And then finally, if they answer the actual question where they give us the feedback, I have it set for answered NPS. So the gave rating and answered NPS are the ones that have responded statuses. The feedback requested is the default, and it is not responded status because we've just asked and they haven't necessarily done anything. So that's how I set up the campaign, and we'll show you as we go along where this fits in. All right, the next thing we need is our landing page. This is a form with 2 questions. It's an email, and the NPS comments question is all it has to be. Now in Pardot, of course, we cannot hide the email field, so it has to be there. Now normally you wouldn't necessarily have to answer this question, but if you use a Pardot landing page, it'll pre-fill it. They don't have to fill anything out. It'll just drop that email right into the page layout. If you want to get clever, you can probably hide that email field with some CSS. But on the other hand, it's pre-filled. You don't have to worry about it. So just use it. But I do suggest putting in the NPS comments first, and you can rename that to anything you want. I'm calling it your feedback. And this could even be a form with no landing page at all. All Pardot forms actually have a link that goes directly to them. So you could actually create, and this is just an example here, this is the form itself. So if you want to be super simple, you don't even have to put the form in a landing page at all. You could just put in some before and after text on the page, create this, and just send them to the form. You don't have to have a landing page, but you can, of course. And you can embed this if you want. It's up to you. But the point is that you need somewhere to send them after you do the custom redirects. So as I said, we need 11 custom redirects. We need one for every individual score from 0 up to 10. I tried to organize them here, but of course 10 comes after 1 in the alphabetic organization. But I have 11 custom redirects here. Now you'll notice that each one has the destination URL is exactly the same. It's all going to the form itself. Okay, so I have NPS score 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And when we look at what one of these looks like, it's going to have several different options for the completion actions. So the first completion action, the most important one, is you have to set the NPS score value to whatever the custom redirects number is. So in this case, NPS score is 0. I'm setting the custom redirect custom field value NPS score to 0. So that is setting the value of that first question. Now you can also add them, like we said, if you want to do the campaign, put them in the campaign with the status of gave rating. So that's a responded status. And then you can decide, do I want to do any notifications? You could notify the assigned user, for example. You could notify yourself. You could notify somebody else. Anything you want to do here as far as notifications. Another thing you could do is if you've got somebody who deals with poor customer feedback, and that's a really good reason why you use these 11 questions, you can define here exactly which ones get a follow-up. So you might say, I just want to notify people if somebody loves us, 9s and 10s, I'm just going to notify them. If it's 1 through 0 through 6, I might want to set a task for my person who's responsible for customer satisfaction in Salesforce on that person to say, hey, this person gave us a bad rating. Maybe you should follow up with them. So that's another thing, another option that you have is set a Salesforce task for somebody to follow up, but only on the ones where it matters. So you might say on the passives, don't do anything. Don't notify anybody. Don't do anything. Again, it's a good reason why that campaign, though, serves as a sort of reporting mechanism for you, so you can monitor what's going on with the campaign. How many people answered? How many people answered the first question but not the second one, and so forth. So now I've got 11 custom redirects. So what do I do with them? So like we said, we have this email template. We need at least one. We want to get answer number 1 in the first click, and that's why we do the custom redirects. So your invitation email could be as simple as, would you recommend us with your, I just noticed in this that I didn't put in the 0, but it's 11 points. Each number corresponds to those 11 custom redirects that sets the different answer number. So the key here is each one of those individual numbers corresponds to a different custom redirect so that the click sets the first answer. So you just have to create an email template that has this in it. It can be very simple. It can be just a row of numbers like this. You can do something that's very clever. I found this one that's has a bunch of different colors in it. But the point is that when you're setting that link, you have to use the link type of custom redirect. And then you see this is very helpfully given us the individual names that we set up in the custom redirect. So if you have NPS score 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., it makes it very easy to find which one corresponds to which number. So that's why you want to name them in that way, so that you can find them easily when you're setting these custom redirects. So again, each custom redirect corresponds to which number they're clicking. All right, so back to that landing page. So the form has those two questions in it again, the NPS comments and the email. And the completion action on this one is you might want to update the campaign status again for the form that says they completed the NPS. They gave some comments. So that's another reason to use that completion action. And it can be, again, you only need one here because you're sending all the custom redirects to the same form. So you just need to set a completion action on this one once, update the form status. Don't put in the follow-up action here unless you want somebody to be notified of every single comment, because either you've already done it on the custom redirect itself, or on this one, you're not going to be able to tell whether it was a good answer or a bad answer that led to this. So I suggest, again, if you want an action set for detractors, set it on the custom redirect click first. The other reason, again, to go back to the idea of why do you let Pardot update it? What if somebody clicked the wrong one? This lets them go back and say, whoops, I clicked the wrong one. I didn't understand. I should have clicked 9 when I meant to click 2 or whatever. So it will update that and allow you to update that individually and not force you not to let them update it with a different number. So that's another reason to use Pardot's value when you're setting up the synchronization behavior between Pardot and Salesforce. Now, if that happens, of course, you're going to get 2 notifications if they both were bad. But that's just a byproduct. I always say you can never predict how the user is going to actually interact with it. You just have to figure out how to deal with it. All right. So back to the formula fields in Salesforce. So I'm going to give you on my blog a bit of a download so that you can get these things so that you can easily cut and paste them, so you don't have to copy it off of this video. But essentially, you have 3 formula fields in Salesforce, and essentially what you're doing is you're defining the promoters, the passives, and the detractors based on what the NPS score was. So the formula field is going to update itself based on what that NPS score is, and each one is going to say, is this person a promoter, is there a passive, or a detractor? So that's how this format works. It's essentially saying if it's greater than 8, yes. If it's not, no. 1 and 0, and that's going to come into play with how we do the calculations in our report. So that you have these 3 formula fields in Salesforce. And each one is going to be defining whether or not, based on the score, this person is a promoter, a passive, or a detractor. Now, this is another one where I don't recommend you put this in the page layout. It's just going to confuse people. You just strictly use this one for reporting. So, but you do need them in order to be able to do your nice roll-ups in reporting in Salesforce. So these are the 3 that are probably your admin's going to have to get some instructions. Give them a text file and let them do this. But it's very simple. All you need to do is a formula field, return type is number, no decimal places, and these are the 3 formulas to use. So onto the Salesforce report. We're going to construct the Salesforce report with a number of elements. We're going to have, we need the NPS score, we need the comments, we need those 3 custom fields, any background information that you want, and 1 formula field, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. All right, so here we've got our report in Salesforce. So essentially what you're doing is you're building an account and contact report where you're reporting on whatever period of time you want this to be, that you want to look at who's answered the NPS score within this time frame. So the first thing, as I said, is you have to add all those NPS fields here. The promoter passive detractor field, you have to add the NPS score, which you use as a grouping. So that goes up here. And then any of the background information that you want. So you might want the comments field in there. You might want who the names of the people are, the account, who's the owner, etc., for the purposes of your report. So you first gather all the fields that you need, and then you have to create a summary field to do the NPS calculation. And once again, I'm going to give you the calculation information in here, because essentially what this is doing is it's rolling up the promoter and the detractor and doing a little bit of math like we talked about before, counting the number of them, and then multiplying them by 100 and then dividing the two. So that's going to give you your number. Again, formula output type is number, no decimal places, and that's going to give you your formula column. So when we see how this works, when we run it, what we get is you can set up a chart then that shows you all of the individual, how many people answered which one of the score numbers. But at the top then, when you do the summary of your details, you'll get the total number of records, you get the total number of promoters, passive, and detractors, and also that NPS calculation number. So in this case, I have 6 promoters, 5 detractors. The NPS calculation is 8. And you can do that math manually if you want to make sure that you got these formula fields in correctly. There are some online calculators that let you count them up. But you can do that math just to make sure that this works. So essentially, this gives you the opportunity then to see that calculation in the score. And of course, now that you've got this in a report, what you can do is you can create a dashboard of it. So you can see here, I've taken that same report and I've created a dashboard with just the NPS this NPS score number as a big data dimension, and then the chart that shows the individual NPS scores. So this lets you take that information from your report and put it into a dashboard so that management can see it. So this allows you to take that information and put it into a nice view in your Salesforce instance so that people can see it. Now I'm going to show you another trick here of how to show the NPS score question if the NPS score is blank. So using the handlebar merge language, you can reveal or not reveal the question, because the whole point of the handlebar merge language is it gives you this if-else option, that if it's blank, show the content. If it is filled out, don't show the content. So if you wanted to, for instance, send some kind of an update to customers and they don't have an NPS score, you could show the question, would you recommend us, inside your email. And if they already have an answer, don't show it. So this is a nice application of the handlebar merge language conditionality option. And this is available in all levels of Pardot accounts. It's available even at the lowest level. It's a form of dynamic content. So if it's blank, essentially, show the question. If it is not blank, they have a score, then don't. So this is another nice way to leverage the power of the platform to be able to get that handlebar merge language to reveal the question or not reveal the question. So what are some follow-on uses for marketing? What can you use the NPS for? Well, here's a couple of ideas. The first one is promoters should get some kind of special treatment, right? These are your most valuable customers. So you could send, once you have the information to know who your promoters are, who are the 9s and 10s, send them an invitation to review your product. Send them special invitations for events or specials or something else. Send them a nice piece of swag. Invite them to do case studies with you. Now you know who are your most valuable customers. And this is great information to have at your fingertips in Pardot for sure. The other option is you could try and work on passives. Is there something else we could be doing for those people to get them to the point where they're much more enthusiastic? What would it take? Again, if you know who they are, you can try and do a little bit of work on them. And then you can evaluate what are the detractors. Look at the comments. look at other dimensions related to them. Are there detractors from a specific industry? Are there from a specific geography? Is there something common to the detractors that you can use in order to evaluate and say, hey, wait a minute, this is why these people don't like us. So again, you've got this information now available to you. Once you've put this information inside of Pardot and Salesforce, make use of it. Use it to leverage your opportunities to cultivate better customer relationships. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found these tips valuable. And if you'd like to get notification for when I publish more things, go ahead and sign up in the box at the bottom of the page.